Hello, everyone. I am in another cat sit, and I'm really excited because this is a place that I have been before. I was here a year ago, and actually, this area in particular of Paris, I have 10 years ago when I came to Paris at 40 to celebrate my 40th birthday. I had rented an Airbnb just around the corner from where I am right now. And it was the first time that I looked up, and never forget it. I looked up outside of the cab and I was like, oh my God, I can live here one day. I just had that feeling. And so to be back here, literally 10 years later, just around the corner from when I declared that I was gonna live in Paris. I didn't know how, I didn't know when. At the time I was living in New York, I was a yoga teacher, I didn't speak French. I'm like, how the hell is that gonna happen, And then also to be back in this apartment this was the first apartment that I subletted. This is how I met my friend. I subletted this apartment when I first moved here 3 years ago. And so it's wild to be here. And so I have decided I'm going to do a 3-day water fast. And this is not my first time. A year ago, did my very first 3-day water fast, and I'll fill you in a little bit on how that went and why I made that choice. But before I get into that, I just want to say there's so many benefits to doing a water fast. In particular, because I've said this many times before, our bodies are these miraculous healing machines. And when you fast, you are letting go of, so one of the biggest jobs the body has to do, aside from keeping us healthy, is to digest our food. So when you give your body a break from digesting all this food, your body has an opportunity to heal. So it will literally go to the cells of your body that need the most healing. It will heal that. You release all this inflammation. So I just remember after I first did it, I felt amazing. I felt like somebody pressed a reset button on my body, because I was like, oh my God, I have no aches and pains. And you don't realize you have aches and pains till afterwards, because you're like, whoa, I feel amazing, And so, we don't just eat because we are hungry. We eat because we're depressed, because we're sad, because we're emotional, because we're bored, because we want to avoid something. We want to avoid feeling. We also want love, attention, whatever it is, like food. You name it. Food is such a great substitution and a way for us to avoid being present. So today's my first day. It is now 6 o'clock. Wow, it's loud outside. And I just had a coffee. You're allowed to have black coffee in the morning and water. So I drink water with a little bit of salt in it, because you have to have salt. I learned the hard way that if you do not have salt, it's not good. You need some sort of electrolytes, and salt actually helps your nervous system and everything continue to work. Oh my gosh, it's so loud. Please go away. Can't they tell I'm recording? Okay, so before I go into how many times I've fasted, I want to talk about the first time I fasted and really why. So as many of you know, if you're new to my channel, please check out the journey that I've been on. I've been on this journey for the past 3 years of living from the end state, living from the state of the already abundant, already wealthy, already successful self that I am. And when I started this, I had no idea that I would still be doing it 3 years later. And I had no idea that I would invite into my life all of the things that I was the most afraid of experiencing. And this is because the things that we fear, we give our attention to the most. So even though I wasn't talking about it every day, even though I wasn't conscious that it was the biggest energetic vibration I was sending out, I had some idea, because I knew I was living under my potential monetarily, right? I knew there was something off, because no matter what I did in my life, I was not getting to a place financially where I felt truly successful, where I felt like I could afford the life that I always dreamed. I just felt like there was something that I was not aware, that I was unconscious of, that was in the way. And guess what? The biggest thing that was in the way is I had this huge fear that I was going to be broke and homeless and hungry. So guess what happened, guys? I got all of those things, But here's the beautiful thing. When you make that declaration, when you set out on that hero's journey, you will be met with so many initiations, and you can call it tests, whatever. I call it initiations. When you decide that I'm going to live differently, that I'm going to go out into the world and I'm actually going to screw all of what conditioning tells me and I'm going to go after this thing that seems crazy, you make a sacred contract with the universe, with your soul. You say, I'm ready. I'm ready. And by the way, there are many people, and myself included, that thought I was ready in the past. And so I feel like I've started this kind of journey years ago, but the programming is so strong that no matter how much I expanded, I still kind of contracted back to who I was. So this journey was never going back all the way. We're going all the way through and we're breaking free. That's what it was about for me. So I had a very specific set of rules for myself, which was, if I'm truly guided and the universe is a reflection of me, then there's always, in every single moment, there's always the answer, a solution, support, and guidance available to me. I just have to be in the right vibration to receive it. So therefore, it was about understanding where I was vibrationally, if I was going to ask for help, so to speak. And most of the time, when you're asking for help, you're in desperation. So because I was very aware that, no, I don't do that anymore. I don't ask out of desperation. I ask from a state of knowing and abundance and clarity and truth. So when I had to make the decision to give up my apartment, you can watch the video here, and live in surrender, it wasn't about having a plan. It was about trusting it's all available to me. I'm always guided, la, la, la. I had a fear, what if I run out of money? And guess what happened? I ran out of money, and I had said yes to a cat sit that was a place outside of Paris that was about a 45-minute train ride away. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I was doing tours. This was last summer. I had spoken about this briefly in another video, that it was very hard for me to see that abundance meant anything other than money, because when you're hungry and you're starving, that's all you think about is money is the only way I'm going to get out of the situation. So nevertheless, I show up at this cat sit and I was like, well, I made it here. And by the way, I'll never forget that moment where I had agreed to do the cat sit. I did not have my ticket yet to get there. And I had made 10 euros out of this, out of the tour. And to take a train to get to where I was going was going to cost 30. And I remember going, oh my God, I don't have enough money. What am I going to do? And I started to really contract and I was about to cry. And then I caught it and I said, no. And every single moment, I know there's another way. I know there's a new possibility. I know it. I just have to align with it. There's a possibility here. I know it. And then I heard, what about a bus? And I was like, what about a bus? I look online. I realized the bus there was 7 euros. Perfect. Got on that bus and got to where I needed to go. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? So, but then I didn't have any money after that. And so because I also had to get another bus when I was there. It's like, okay, we're going to fast. That's obviously what the universe wants. That's what my soul wants. We are going to do a water fast. So I was always curious about water fasting, and I thought something's going to come through. And I gave it an intention. I said, I am starving off the version of myself that is addicted to lack, separation, and desperation. I'm starving that version off. So I went on YouTube and I'm listening to all these people talk about how to do it successfully, how to do it smart, how to do it healthy. Now, I have water at this place. I had coffee, but there was no salt, and this is a big piece of it. So the first 24 hours was hard, but I was so hyped up on like, I've got this declaration and yeah, and everything's gonna work out. I just know it. You know, I was like hyped up on my own adrenaline of like starting this thing and how committed I was and just the fact that I made it there. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yes, this is here for me. At the time, I was doing voice notes with a really good friend of mine, and I was sharing this journey because number one, it was so new and I was scared, and I was like, I need a witness. I need someone to like share this stuff with, right? And I remember after I sent off that voice note, like maybe, I don't know, 12 or 13 hours later, I get a voice note back, and this is after 24 hours of fully fasting. She's like, listen, I totally respect your choice to do what you're doing. I think that's really brave. But just so you know, as your friend, I'm happy to loan you $20, $25 to help you get through this little period right now, you know? And I remember hearing that and I was like, no, like, I don't need your money. Like, no. The universe is gonna like, you know, send me something amazing because that's how it works, you know? I mean, clearly I'm doing this big sacrifice. I'm fasting. So of course the universe is gonna come sweeping in, you know, and somebody's gonna knock on my door and like money's just gonna be flowing to me, you know? This is how warped my belief system was. I thought because I'm doing this big sacrifice that I would be rewarded in some big way. And certainly not my friend loaning me $25. Like, no thanks. No, it's okay, you know. 48 hours go by and I'm starting to feel weird. And I start to feel sick because not only are you fasting, but your body is detoxing. Now it has the proper time and the energy to push out all that was like, that needed to be pushed out. So I start throwing up. And what am I throwing up? Just water. So, I mean, it was scary because I didn't have money and I'm in this strange city. And even though I was okay, I felt like I was exceptionally, like I was really in this high state of fear. And I was like, I just heard this voice like, what are you doing? Like, this is crazy. You don't want to, God forbid, have to be rushed to the hospital, la, 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 all these, you know, it goes to the worst case scenario. So I was like, tell your friend, yes, I would like that money, please. So you can stop fasting and go get money. I knew also that I think I was going to get paid at my job. And I knew I had money coming. I should know when. And I was so hooked on this idea that the universe was going to surprise and delight me in some big way that I couldn't see how my friend offering me money was help. That was the way the universe was helping me. I couldn't see it. And this is why I say expectation was and is the only thing that has caused suffering, that has caused the most suffering in my journey, is expecting some other outcome, that it's going to come in some other way, or I shouldn't say yes to this because maybe if I say yes to this, I won't be available for this other big thing, or if I say yes too fast. It was all this bullshit like that. I don't know. I had this belief in my head that I can get it wrong. Yeah, I had this belief I can get it wrong. And accepting money from her was like, no, that's wrong. If I do that, I'm taking away from this other grand opportunity that the universe was going to supply and delight me, or whatever it was, you know? And so I had to get sick. I literally had to get sick for me to wake up and be like, take the money. So I sent her the message. Thankfully, she sent me the money the next day. Now, like I said, I prepared. I knew what foods to introduce to my body, right? You want to do prebiotics, probiotics, healthy fat, you know, vegetable broth, all these things. I'll never forget the very first taste of that avocado that I had. Can I just tell you, when you eliminate all food and then you reintroduce food again, it's like, wow, it's like the most amazing thing. You think about, why would you ever touch an avocado, a beautiful, delicious, perfectly ripe avocado? Why would you ever do anything to it other than just eat the damn thing? You know what I mean? Because it just tasted so damn good. And then I had, kefir, and then I did a vegetable broth and all that salt. So one of the reasons why I got so sick is because there was no salt. I didn't have enough salt in my body. So salt is really important. And the other thing was to learn that lesson. So what was interesting about that whole experience was it took months for me to really get what I'm telling you right now, because the fear was still so prevalent. It actually got worse in me. So that fear of not having enough money after that whole experience happened. So now it's like a little bit of a trauma, because I was throwing up and the whole thing. So then it kicked up the fear even more, where I was even more afraid of running out of money, which only made money coming through even more of a challenge. You know what I'm saying? Because I was still in a state of fear, and you're just not going to get there. When you're in that much fear and trauma, you really just have to move through it, which I did. And once I got, abundance is so much more money, and it was my expectation, and it was the universe helping me through, once I understood all those things, which again took months, then it was fine. Then I was okay, well, now I need to do the fasting again, but I need to do it really in a healthy way, and to prove to myself that I can do it, because there was this little fear that was I don't want to get sick again or whatever. I just wanted to prove to myself I can do it in a healthy way. Yeah, so the second time I did it was in the beginning of the year, and I actually did it with the support of this woman that I can't remember her name, but I will put in the show notes. She's big on fasting. She wrote books about it. She talks about how healing it is, and people have healed themselves of cancer and the whole thing, right? And so I did it with her, and I had very specific questions that I wanted to know, because also you receive so much clarity. Because think about it, when you eliminate food, what gets kicked up is the subconscious, big time, especially at night, at least for me. But then what drops in, I just feel so connected to everything in my higher self. You also have to I don't do any social media. I really kind of go in, I'm just in the moment, and I felt so amazing and so powerful that, so going in the second time, it was incredible. It was way better than I could have ever imagined. All these synchronicities and miraculous things happen. I'll talk about that in another video. But that really solidified this is amazing, and it changes and has changed my relationship to food. And when I am understanding if it's really coming from I'm hungry, or if it's coming just from I'm trying to avoid something or cover up something or feel some sort of comfort or whatever it is, right? And none of it's bad. Again, none of it's bad. It's very interesting how this journey has illuminated every single relationship I have to everything, that it's healing everything. You know what I mean? I'm really restoring everything back into balance. So the third time I did it was actually a couple of months ago. No, it was actually just 2 months ago, so not that long ago. And that I was just curious. Can I do it again, not have any expectation? And I actually went to work. I actually gave a tour during a second day where it was 48 hours I hadn't eaten, and I was a little nervous, but I gave myself all the kind of it's okay if you need to eat something afterwards, it's fine, all the outs. I didn't put pressure on it. But what I understood and what I realized was whoa, it's I was operating on a whole other fuel system, because I showed up and I was so present, and all those voices that normally circulate were gone. And I was just like, it's almost like when you have a hybrid car and it's running on gas and electricity. It was like I was in the electricity. I was just like so, just so energized. And I realized like, wow, like we think food is giving us this energy, but there's something else that's within us that gives us this energy. So it was just a really fascinating experiment. Like, again, I'm just in this one big, huge experiment, and I'm always experimenting. And every time it's been very different, what happens afterwards. So being here in this very apartment, in this area, knowing all that I know, in this space, doing it again, revisiting, and also having such a deep awareness around all of it, letting go of the expectation. It's like a very interesting experience, and not as big of a deal, And so I'm curious to see, after 3 days, how I feel and what comes up. And then also, it's the first time I've actually talked about it. So voila, that's what I wanted to share. I was so in the moment just now, just sharing all of that. I don't even remember how I started this, other than to say, you will be initiated into whatever it is you're calling out, right? And so, that's it. I'm going to end it there because I have to watch it to see like where my thoughts went. Like, what the hell did I just say? You see how that's already working? You eliminate food. And I'm so present with what I just said. I have no idea what I just said. How I started this. All right, sending love.